If you're hearing a constant ringing, buzzing, or high-pitched sound in your ears, don't ignore it. This is not normal. It's not just stress, and it's definitely not just aging. In fact, this sound could be a serious warning sign from your body, a signal that something is wrong and that a bigger health problem may be on the way. Most people make the mistake of ignoring it, and what's worse, many doctors don't explain this in a quick 10-minute visit. But the truth is, in nearly 70% of cases, this persistent ringing is your body's way of telling you it's lacking essential nutrients it desperately needs. And when that sound gets louder in complete silence at night, that's not random. That's your body trying even harder to get your attention. I know exactly how you feel. You lie down at night expecting silence, but instead, you hear a constant tone, like a television that never turns off. You wake up with it, you work with it in the background, and when you try to focus on a conversation, that ringing competes with every word you hear. The most frustrating part is being told that there's nothing you can do, that you just have to live with it. But the truth is, there's something no one has properly explained to you. That ringing has a very specific physiological cause. It is often linked to nutritional deficiencies that affect the cells of your auditory nerve and the tiny blood vessels that supply your inner ear. When these deficiencies are corrected with the right nutrients and foods, the ringing can be reduced significantly. And in many cases, it may even disappear completely. Hello, I'm Dr. Joan, a specialist in nutritional neurology and auditory health, with over 20 years of clinical experience. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what your body may be missing when your ears won't stop ringing. I'll also share the 8 essential nutrients your auditory nerve needs to function properly and how you can include them in your daily diet to start noticing real improvements. If you've been dealing with this ringing for months or even years without clear answers, or if you've been told it's tinnitus and that you simply have to get used to it, you're not alone. Many people try medications, sound therapy, or relaxation techniques, yet the noise remains constant and unchanging. In fact, more than 750 million people worldwide live with chronic tinnitus, and most of them never receive a proper nutritional explanation that could truly improve their quality of life. Conventional medicine often focuses on treating the symptoms, but here I want to show you the root cause. Imagine lying down tonight and experiencing real silence, having conversations without that constant background noise, and finally living your life without that ringing controlling your focus. Now imagine waking up truly rested because your brain has finally stopped processing that constant ringing during the night. Imagine getting real, uninterrupted sleep again. All of this becomes possible when your auditory nerve receives the nutrients it truly needs to stay healthy and function properly. And the third nutrient on this list is so critical for the cells of the inner ear that a study published in a specialized medical journal found that 68% of patients with chronic tinnitus had deficient levels of this mineral. When that deficiency was corrected, 47% of those patients reported a significant reduction in ringing in less than 6 weeks. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next in this video could change something you once believed was permanent. Before we continue, I want to ask you a very important favor. If this content is helping you, please take a moment right now to like this video and subscribe to Dr. Joan's channel. Every week I share medical information that truly makes a difference in people's lives, and your support is what makes it possible to keep creating this content. Have you done it? Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, let's get into it. Let me tell you about Roberto, a 62-year-old patient who came to see me 7 months ago in a state of emotional exhaustion that deeply impacted me. Roberto was an engineer, a man used to solving problems with logic and precision, but this issue had completely defeated him. "Doctor," he told me in a tired, lifeless voice, "I've been hearing this ringing in both ears for 3 years. At first it only happened at night. Then it started during the day as well. I don't even remember what silence feels like, taking away my will to live." Roberto had already seen 2 ENT specialists, a neurologist, and an audiology expert. He'd undergone hearing tests, MRI scans, and basic blood work, all of which came back within normal ranges, according to the doctors. He was prescribed batacistine, a medication commonly used for dizziness related to the inner ear, and was advised to try cognitive behavioral therapy to learn how to ignore the sound. But Roberto couldn't ignore it. The tinnitus had destroyed his ability to concentrate at work. He had stopped attending social gatherings because the noise and environments with multiple voices became unbearable for him. He was sleeping only 4 to 5 hours a night because the silence made the ringing feel louder than ever. His marriage was starting to suffer, as his constant irritability and exhaustion affected every conversation at home. But what affected me the most was when he told me this. Last week, my 8-year-old daughter asked me why I don't play with her anymore. I didn't know what to answer. When I reviewed his blood tests more carefully, using the specific parameters I evaluate in tinnitus patients, I found exactly what I expected. His zinc levels were at the lower end of the normal range. His vitamin B12 was technically normal according to standard lab values, but still at a suboptimal level that can compromise nerve function. His red blood cell magnesium levels, which is the correct way to measure it, not serum magnesium, were clearly deficient, and his vitamin D3 levels were below 20 ng per milliliter, which is considered the minimum threshold for proper neurological function. The doctor who reviewed these results before me had marked everything as normal. But normal does not mean optimal. And the auditory nerve doesn't need normal levels, it needs optimal levels to function correctly. I explained something fundamental to Roberto that completely changed his understanding of the problem, in most cases where there is no obvious structural cause, such as a tumor or a malformation. Tinnitus occurs when the hair cells in the inner ear, which are specialized cells responsible for converting sound vibrations into electrical signals for the brain, become damaged due to oxidative stress or a lack of essential nutrients. These cells are extraordinarily vulnerable because they have a very high metabolic demand and almost no ability to regenerate. Once they are severely damaged, they do not recover on their own. However, even when they are not completely destroyed, if they exist in a state of chronic nutritional deficiency, they cannot function properly. As a result, they begin sending incorrect electrical signals to the brain, signals that do not correspond to any real external sound. The brain then interprets these false signals as sound. That is what tinnitus is. In addition, the tiny blood vessels that supply the inner ears, a labyrinthine artery and its branches, are among the smallest in the entire body. When there are deficiencies in certain nutrients, these vessels can constrict, reducing blood flow to the inner ear. This means the hair cells receive even less oxygen and fewer nutrients than they already desperately need. The result is more faulty signals, more ringing, and greater intensity. I watched as Roberto understood for the first time in 3 years that there was a real biological explanation for what he was experiencing, that it wasn't psychological, that it wasn't something he just had to ignore, but something real and correctable behind the noise that was ruining his life. I designed a specific nutritional protocol for him, explained exactly what to eat, what to supplement under medical supervision, and which habits to change in order to protect and nourish his auditory system. 6 weeks later, he came back to my clinic, and before even sitting down, he said, "Doctor, this week I had 3 nights of almost complete silence." 3 nights. After 3 years, by the 4th month, the ringing had become intermittent instead of constant. And by the last month, as I write these words, Roberto is sleeping well, working with focus, and just last week, he went to the park and played with his daughter for 2 hours. Now let me explain exactly what those 8 nutrients are and how you can get them. Nutrient number 1, zinc. Zinc is the most critical mineral for inner ear health and one of the most commonly deficient in people with tinnitus. The hair cells of the inner ear contain some of the highest concentrations of zinc in the entire body. They need it to protect against oxidative stress, carry out essential enzymatic functions, and maintain the integrity of their cell membranes. When zinc is lacking, these cells become far more vulnerable to damage and begin sending more faulty signals. The richest sources of bioavailable zinc include oysters, which are the most concentrated source on the planet, lean beef, pumpkin seeds, unsalted cashews, dark chocolate with more than 85% cocoa. You can eat pumpkin seeds as a daily snack, include lean red meat twice a week. And if you have access to oysters, a serving of 6 once a week can provide an extraordinary amount of zinc. Nutrient number 2, magnesium. Magnesium acts as a protective shield for the cells of the inner ear against noise-induced damage and oxidative stress. Clinical studies have shown that magnesium supplementation can reduce hearing damage and may decrease the intensity of tinnitus. By relaxing the blood vessels in the inner ear and improving circulation, foods rich in magnesium include almonds, cooked spinach, avocado, pure cocoa, sunflower seeds, and brown rice. For example, a dinner with a cup of steamed spinach, a handful of almonds, and half an avocado can provide more than half of your daily magnesium needs naturally. Nutrient number 3, vitamin B12. This is the nutrient I mentioned earlier. Vitamin B12 is absolutely essential for myelin, the protective sheath that surrounds the auditory nerve and allows electrical signals to travel properly from the ear to the brain. When B12 levels are low, myelin gradually deteriorates. The auditory nerve loses efficiency, signals become distorted, and the direct, well-documented result of that distortion is tinnitus. The challenge is that B12 is found almost exclusively in animal-based foods, and its absorption decreases significantly with age. The most powerful sources include beef liver, canned sardines, salmon, eggs, and fresh cheese. If you follow a vegetarian diet or are over the age of 50, supervised supplementation is often necessary to maintain optimal levels. Nutrient number 4, vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is not just the sunshine vitamin for bones. It is actually a neurohormone that regulates the expression of hundreds of genes in the nervous system, including those involved in the function and protection of the auditory nerve. Several studies have found a statistically significant correlation between low vitamin D3 levels and a higher prevalence and intensity of tinnitus. Dietary sources of vitamin D3 include wild salmon, tuna, egg yolks, and full-fat dairy products. However, the reality is that diet alone is rarely enough to maintain optimal levels. Moderate sun exposure, about 15 to 20 minutes daily on your arms and legs, preferably between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. is essential and completely free. Nutrient number 5, omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 South, especially EPA and DHA, are powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that protect the tiny blood vessels in the inner ear and improve the fluidity of auditory nerve cell membranes. Chronic low-grade inflammation, which is extremely common in modern adults, is one of the main factors that damages circulation in the inner ear and amplifies hearing problems. The richest sources of highly bioavailable omega-3 South include salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, and anchovies. Aim to eat fatty fish at least 3 times per week. If you don't like fish, ground flax seeds and walnuts provide plant-based omega-3 South, although in a form that the body uses less efficiently. Nutrient number 6, ginkgo biloba and auditory circulation. Ginkgo biloba deserves special mention because it acts directly on the vascular mechanisms involved in tinnitus. Its active compounds, terpenoids, and flavonoids improve microcirculation in the inner ear, dilate the small blood vessels that supply it, and provide antioxidant and neuroprotective effects. Although ginkgo is mainly used as a herbal supplement rather than a food, you can enhance its circulation-boosting effects with natural foods like fresh ginger, raw garlic, unsweetened green tea, and turmeric combined with black pepper. All of these have natural vasodilating properties that help improve blood flow to the inner ear. Try adding grated ginger to your teas and including raw garlic in your salads regularly. Nutrient number 7, B-complex vitamins, specifically B1, B3, and B6. Thiamine B1 supports proper nerve conduction. Niacin B3 improves blood circulation in the inner ear and is especially relevant in tinnitus associated with Meniere's syndrome. Pyridoxine B6 plays a key role in the production of neurotransmitters that regulate how the brain processes and interprets auditory signals. Good food sources of these vitamins include whole grains, tuna, chicken, bananas, legumes, especially chickpeas, boiled potatoes with skin, and eggs. A simple breakfast of whole grain oats with seeds and an egg yolk can already provide significant amounts of these nutrients together. Nutrient number 8, antioxidants. Specifically unacetylcysteine NAC and vitamin C. Oxidative stress is one of the main mechanisms of damage in the inner ear. Free radicals continuously attack the delicate hair cells, especially in people exposed to loud noise, smoking, or chronic inflammation. Unacetylcysteine is a precursor to glutathione, the most powerful antioxidant produced by your body. You can naturally support its production by eating sulfur-rich foods like garlic, onions, asparagus, and broccoli. Vitamin C, found in raw red peppers, strawberries, kiwi, and whole citrus fruits, works in synergy with glutathione to protect the auditory nerve from accumulated oxidative damage. Today, you've discovered the 8 essential nutrients your inner ear urgently needs when that ringing won't stop. Zinc from pumpkin seeds and lean meat, magnesium from spinach and almonds, vitamin B12 from sardines, eggs, and salmon, vitamin D3 from sunlight and fatty fish, omega-3 south from fish consumed 3 times per week, circulation-supporting compounds from ginger, garlic, and green tea, B-complex vitamins from whole grains, legumes, and eggs, and antioxidants from broccoli, garlic, red peppers, and berries. Roberto reduced his tinnitus from constant and disabling to intermittent and manageable in just 4 months, simply by correcting nutritional deficiencies that no one had identified before. My practical advice for you this week is simple. Tonight, prepare a meal with baked salmon, a generous spinach salad with pumpkin seeds and avocado, dressed with olive oil and fresh lemon juice. That single plate provides zinc, magnesium, omega-3, south, vitamin D3, and antioxidants all at once. Try it 3 times this week and observe whether you notice any changes in the intensity of the ringing. The first results usually begin to appear between 3 to 6 weeks of consistent nutritional correction. If this video helped you, share it with someone you know who is living with tinnitus. Millions of people suffer from this condition without knowing that nutrition can make a real difference. Let me know in the comments how long you've had the ringing and which of these nutrients you think you might be lacking. I read every comment, and it truly helps me understand how this information reaches each of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Your inner ear works tirelessly, every second of your life, to connect you with the world. It deserves to be cared for with the same dedication.